Hey guys, and welcome. How are you? My name is Bram. If you are new here, I talk about all things fashion, luxury, shopping, lifestyle, and travel. If those are things that are interesting to you, I would love it if you would hit subscribe and become a member of my growing YouTube family. Okay, other than that, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload videos, which is typically Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And last but not least, I'm going to put my Instagram handle right up here just in case you want to come follow me over there. All right, guys, so today I wanted to talk about, I actually saw, I don't remember who did this. I know who did this. Okay, so if any of you also watch Jessie Style, she did a video with this topic, and I thought that it was interesting, and so I wanted to put together my own list to talk about with you guys, and I would like your feedback too in the comments to let me know what you also think. So what we're going to be talking about today is all the things, I made a little list, maybe not all the things, but a lot of the things that I think are no longer worth the price, that are just not worth it. Luxury handbags in general, shoes, things like that. What exactly are just absolutely not worth it anymore? That maybe once upon a time they were, but the price has gotten so out of control that I just am not even looking in this direction anymore. Okay, so some of these I think are obvious and some of them maybe not. But again, I would love your feedback in the comments. Tell me what you think. Are these still things that you are willing to spend your money on, or have all of these price increases kind of put you off in terms of buying these things? Like, what are your thoughts? Okay, let's get going. Let me just adjust you a little bit. I feel like we're crooked, but we're gonna make do. Okay, so number one for me would definitely be the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. I just can't wrap my mind around the pricing at this point. I am going to say all of these things are, for the most part, I'll go through them one by one, but I feel like the majority of the things on my list are things that I would possibly buy secondhand, but I would never buy in the store ever again in life because it just doesn't make any sense. So number one being the LV Neverfull. Now, I have previous pricing for you guys and I have current pricing, so I'm going to tell you exactly why I feel like this. So I am going to say, excluding any, I am not a fan of the Neverfull anyway. I don't know if I ever had a regular one. That's a good question. I've definitely had many versions of like different limited edition ones over the years. And I actually have some on my list to add back into my collection at some point, like some very specific ones. But I'm not a huge fan of the Neverfull in general, just the plain Neverfull. No offense to anybody. I just feel like everybody had it for a long time. And so it became one of those things where I was just kind of like sick of looking at it. Well, I think it's a functional bag. And then, everybody kind of switched over to, I think, the Goyard bag for a little while. And then that one is like everywhere also. So, once I think that, the landscape is just like consumed, like all you see are these specific bags, it just kind of like, it's not exciting anymore. So that's where I stand with the Neverfull. Although, like I said, I do have some very specific ones that I'd like to add back into my collection that are secondhand and limited edition. And I would possibly go the secondhand route with like a Neverfull in general. Like, my advice to anybody out there who is thinking about a Neverfull at this point, secondhand, just go secondhand, and you can find them in very good condition for much less than what they're going for in the store at the moment. Right now in Neverfull is $2,200. In 2012, it was $850. oh God, like $1,000 difference for what? For what? It literally hasn't changed. In my opinion, like, there are so many other brands out there that in the last 10 or 15 years have been able to keep their pricing relatively consistent and not Like, the cost of canvas is not $1,000 more. The cost of labor is not $1,000 more per bag. Like, it's insanity. And the bag honestly is not worth $2,200 in my opinion. Again, barring any special limited edition like iterations of the bag. I do think that sometimes when they come out with special ones, especially because I don't feel, well, I guess they do come out with the Neverfull a lot of times they weren't for a while. A lot of the limited editions were like on the go for like the past, I don't know, like 5 years or so, 6 years. And I feel like with the cherries collection, like their start and the, what is it? The smiling faces, not the multicolor, but they were like the one with the flower. I don't know what that one's called. Like the smiling flower faces. So they are bringing back the Neverfull again instead of the on the go, which I'm happy about, I guess, because I'm sick of the on the go as well, honestly. I loved that bag, but it's just like, it's enough already. Anyway, that's my spiel on that. I just think that $1,000 over the last 13 years is absolute insanity, and it makes no sense, and it's not like the bag has gotten any upgrades or anything since then. I don't get it. Yeah, I just don't get it at all. Okay, so next, sticking with Louis Vuitton, the next one is actually the Louis Vuitton Speedy 30. I remember when the Speedy 30 was $475. Granted, this was like 2000 or probably 2000, 2001. It was in the $400 range, $475, I believe. And so no problem. By 2012, the bag was around $898. Now, I could only find the prices from a site that had Malaysian prices, and so I had to like figure out what the Malaysian, like that amount was in USD. All of these are in USD. And it came out to $898. Now, I'm sure it was like $890 or something like that. Like, I don't know. That's what the current conversion rate is. So it might have been a little bit different back then, but in the vicinity of $898 was what it was in 2012. Okay. Now it's $1980. Again, like, what has happened in the past 13 years that this bag, now this bag went from, in 2000, it increased only approximately $400 between the year 2001 or so to 2012. However, from 2012 to 2025, it increased over $1,000. Like, what exactly happened in that next 12 years, 13 years, that made it so much more expensive than, the increase of, I mean, I guess it's still 100% increase, more. It just blows my mind. It's such a simple bag, and I just don't think that the change was warranted. So at the moment, and probably forever, it is 100% off of my list of anything that I would even remotely consider to purchase in store. Now, again, if this is barring limited edition, this is for the regular monogram versions and the damier versions, but I don't get it. Buy it secondhand. You can get a good one in good condition on the secondhand market for like a little bit over $1,000, even sometimes a little under $1,000, depending on the condition and all of that stuff. Just go that route. There is no need. If you're going to get something, if you want to get something in store, like maybe it's your first Louis Vuitton purchase or whatever it is, buy something special. Don't just buy that stuff, because you can get that secondhand for so much less expensive. Plus, it's better for the environment to repurpose and reuse things and all of that stuff. That's just the route that I would go personally. Okay, next one is the Oran sandals. Now, I have a bunch. I have many. And actually, I had a whole story for you guys not too long ago. Actually, I'm still actually in the process of dealing with this. I sent a whole bunch of my cheap rays to, I had like literally 9 pairs, and I didn't need 9 pairs. And so I sold 3 or 4 of them actually to Fashion File, because I'm funding a new bag that I'm super excited about. You guys will see. I've been talking about this thing for quite a few weeks now. It's coming soon. So I decided that I didn't want to spend new money on this bag, and I wanted to sell some of the things that I don't use in order to fund this bag instead. So I had a bunch of cheap rays. I wear them. I wear them, actually, all of them. Most of them, all the time. I wear my brown, I wear my white, I wear a pair of navy blue ones that I had, like bluish one, and I don't know if they're really navy, but they're blue. And then I had a pair that was too big that I never wore, a pair of shearling ones that I never wore because it just doesn't get warm enough out here to wear them. And I had a pair of like green, like this color, green, that I never wore, and I think it was because the sole was black. Anyway, I sold all of that to Fashion File. No problem. They came back and told me that my shearling ones, they were questioning it. So I had to go through this whole thing with Hermes to get the invoice from them to submit to Fashion File and whatever. And it was a whole, like, it was like a month-long process at this point. It's still going on. And I actually just got the right receipt because Hermes sent me the wrong receipt. So I know that the first pair, they sent me the receipt the receipt that they sent me initially was for my very first pair of Orans. I purchased my first pair of Orans in 2016, and they were $650. So for $650, I actually think that the Orans are a great sandal. They are a designer sandal. They are classic. They'll go with everything. You can get them in some great colors, all of this stuff. I find them very comfortable. I find Hermes shoes in general very comfortable. I have no problems. I know that some people don't feel that way. Not me. I like them a lot. For $650, no, I'm sorry, I wrote this down wrong. It was 2017. I don't know if it was the same price in 2016, but it was 2017. So $650, they were a great shoe. I've worn them into the ground. They're very worn at this point. I can't even sell them, but I definitely got my use out of them. And I have many colors after that. In the next 2 years, or maybe up until 2020 or 2021, I bought a whole bunch of colors and I was super into them. Now I feel like they're everybody's first designer sandal. It's a sandal that you constantly see everybody wearing because they are, whatever, because it's Birkin bait and whatever. And it used to be so hard to get that I feel like, I used to stalk the website for new colors to drop in my size and blah, 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 and what was available. And then you would have to pull the trigger immediately and all of this stuff. Anyway, for $650, I felt like they were worth it. They were actually less than most Chanel shoes. They were less than a lot of Dior shoes. So in general, in terms of what I was purchasing, Hermes sandals, along with being Birkin bait, they were also less expensive than most other things that I was purchasing at that time. Now, however, they're $840. So fast forward, I know it's been 8 years, but I don't know. I just don't feel like they're worth it anymore. With tax and everything, you are flirting with $1,000. For that, you can go get something way more interesting, in my opinion. They also have a ton of them on secondhand sites that are not really worn. I know that everybody has a different thing about secondhand shoes and whatever. I am okay with it as long as they are not super worn, unless they're a vintage pair that I absolutely need and I have to take what I can get. But for the most part, you can find Orans for half of the price on the secondhand market. They're shoes and they don't hold their value, and so you can scoop them up for a great discount on the secondhand market. And anyway, I just think that $200, I know in the grand scheme of things, going up by $200 is not really a lot, but I feel like it is sort of a lot because it's a third of the price. It increased a third, and I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot, personally. I do think that's a lot. And I just feel like they're completely off my list now. I would never purchase another new pair of Orans, Birkin bait or not. I just wouldn't do it anymore. And yeah, I just don't think it's worth it. I think you can get something so much more interesting for that price range than this. I mean, you literally almost can't tell the difference between the Hermes version and the Steve Madden version at this point. So, what does it even matter anymore? Save your money. All right, next. I know that they're not in. I know that they're not trending at the moment, but I would have to say Chanel Espadrilles. Now, I, at one point in life, had a ridiculous collection of Chanel Espadrilles. Since I have sold many of them since. I have kept my favorites. I probably have like 6 pairs left. And even that, I honestly don't wear them, but I have some good ones. Like I have a denim pair, and I have, like, they were really good when I was working in an office. I wore them very, very often. I would wear them a lot. I thought they were like perfect for going to work because they were flats, they were comfortable, but they were still like, they were still Chanel. They were still dressed up. They were still like for summertime, they were super cute, and I wore them a lot. I haven't worn any one of them in probably at least 3 years at this point, probably because I don't work anymore. That's probably like number one reason. But I feel like we've just kind of stopped caring about Chanel Espadrilles. I feel like it is like, yeah, they're a classic. They're probably going to come back, but I just feel like they're not really on trend at the moment. They're not something that I grab at I just don't. I can't explain it any further than that. I just don't. If I'm going out, if I'm going like somewhere where I have to dress up, I just have other things that I will gravitate towards before my espadrilles. But the the main reason that I think that they're not worth it anymore is the price, of course. And so in 2018, they were around $600. I couldn't get a solid number on these, but I remember them being about $625. I want to say they were about $625. 2018. Even before then, I mean, I remember when they were about $400, $450. This was probably like 2012 time, 2013, in that range. So, but they were about $600, $625, $650, in that range in 2018. Now, they're like $980, $1,000. It depends on the design. It depends on like that whole thing. But that's what they range at now. And I just think, like, number one, we're not really wearing espadrilles like that. And number two, do you know that the way that espadrilles, like where they originated from, I don't want to butcher this, but I will say that they were like the poor man's shoe. Hundreds of years ago, that's what they were. I don't know if they were a farmer's shoe or something like that, but however they were constructed, they were a shoe for like people that couldn't afford full leather shoes or whatever. And so, like, that, it's interesting. It's interesting that like years later, how things change or whatever, because now espadrilles are looked at as like this super, like they have been in the past, like this super chic, like summertime shoe, nice for like, you know, all of your like nautical type of clothing for the summer, for like vacation, things like that. And while I think that espadrilles will come back because I think that they're a classic, I just kind of think that they're kind of at a low right now. And the prices, I mean, go on eBay. They sell, like Chanel does sales. So on eBay, you have a lot of sellers who are able to get these things from Chanel, from the Chanel sales, and they resell it. And even at resale, brand new, they're less expensive than going to the store and getting them. I just think, like, save your money. For the way that I look at it now is like $1,000 for a pair of shoes. While yes, that's less than a bag, just save up 2 or 3 times and you can get yourself like a great bag. Or $1,000 literally equals like one of my, you know, something that's on my list from my, you know, vintage pieces that I'd like to either buy back or buy. Like, I have a whole list, and a lot of them range from $1,000 to $1,500, and I think that has really changed my mindset in terms of what I'm spending money on at this point, because quite honestly, it doesn't make sense for me to drop $1,000 on a pair of shoes when a bag that I can bring into my collection that is like way more iconic and won't lose value the same way that a pair of shoes does is the same price, if not like close to it, you know? So anyway, Chanel espadrilles are an absolute no. All right, next is, and I don't think this is a surprise for anyone because I think that we're all on the same page with this, is the Chanel flat bag. Medium, jumbo, maxi, mini, all of the above, they are not worth it at all anymore. However, the numbers that I'm going to give you right now are for a medium, okay? So regular medium flat bag in 2010, it was $2,850. Guys, you can't even get it on the secondhand market for that anymore, right? 2015, $4,900. Now, $10,400 for a medium-sized Chanel Classic flat bag. Why? What? Why? Why? I know a lot of us are on the same page with this. I know that they come out with beautiful colors. I, however, feel like don't take offense. Nobody take offense. I know that the Chanel flat bag is a classic, and I have Chanel flat bags in my collection. To be fair, they are the Jumbo XL and like vintage and a seasonal one. However, I've had many a flat bag in my life. I think, quite honestly, I feel like it's peaked. I feel like it peaked in probably 2016, 2017, and it has been just downhill since then. I think that it's boring. Don't hate me. I think it's boring. I think that the interesting ones, no, I love the design. I think that the interesting ones tend to be the seasonal ones that are like exciting and have like a fun design or something. But you know I'm loud, you know? So like I said, don't take offense. Nothing about me is quiet luxury or classic or quiet or anything. So don't take offense. But I feel like it peaked in those years. Everybody, like, it was absolutely aspirational to have a Chanel flap in your collection. It had to be gold. It had to be black, and maybe you like the gold hardware, or maybe you like the silver hardware, who knows, but you had to have a black one, and then there was like the beige clair, the perfect beige that everybody wanted to like get their hands on. And then there was like the special colors, like when that Tiffany blue color came out, like there was like the lipstick red color that came out that everybody like, you know, was dying to find and whatever. And I understand it, and I remember it, and I remember the craze, and in my own mind I thought that my collection had to have these pieces in it. But here we are, you know, 8 years later or whatever, and I just find, quite honestly, that these bags are just kind of boring. And while I think that they were 100% worth it in 2010 for $2,850 or even 2015 for $4,900, 100% worth it. Now for $10,400, absolutely and completely, unequivocally, no, not worth it. Never again will I ever purchase a Chanel Classic, anything from the store. I don't rule out seasonal. I don't, just because seasonal tends to have better pricing, and some of like the seasonal bags or like the yearly bag, like the 25, the 22, the 19, all those things tend to have like better pricing, obviously, than the classics. But everything is going up like crazy. You know, we're not here to talk about everything and pick apart Chanel in general, but absolutely not on the Chanel flap. Get it used if you must get it. Patent leather versions are a steal. You can find some really good colors in really pristine condition for in the $3,000 range on Fashion File, like all the time. The Real as well. But $10,400, like, stop it. If I had $10,000 that I just was burning a hole in my pocket and I had to spend it on something, I would either go for, you know, a Birkin if I was being offered one in the store, of course. Or for $10,000, honestly, for $10,000, I could probably add back maybe 5 or 6 like perfect vintage archival pieces that I want in my collection. So like that's where I would put that money. I wouldn't put it in just one random Chanel flap that at this point is no longer an investment. I know that we're not talking about investment versus non-investment and how people see bags and purchasing bags and all that stuff. The truth is that a lot of times, if you hold on to things through all these price increases, you could sometimes make money on these purchases. But I just think that Chanel is no longer there. I think that we can no longer rely on that as a, you know, that's just not happening anymore, in my opinion. It's too expensive. They have taken that away from us, and I don't even know how it can get more expensive and how they'll retain customers. I think that they definitely like overshot or over like they thought that they were more important in our lives than they are. I don't know how to explain it. I think that they took a chance and they definitely messed up in the constant increases over the past like 5 years specifically. And I think that they have just kind of like overdone it and we're sick of it. And that's what I think. So anyway, yes. So that's it, guys. I thought that I had more, but apparently those are my top 5 and that's where I'm leaving it at. So I definitely have more in my mind, but that'll be for another video because we're already at 25 minutes and I don't want to bore you guys. So we're going to leave it here. I will come back with another version of this probably in a few weeks and we'll go over like another 5 or whatever things that I think are just absolutely not worth it at this point. Because we could go on for forever about that. And I'm sure that everybody has their own thoughts on that. So again, I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. Tell me what you think. Like, are there items that you are just like absolutely, like you would have purchased and it's just either you've been priced out of the item in general, purchasing it from the store, or you are just so disgusted by the price increases in general that you're just like, no, thank you. Like what? Tell me. I would love to know your thoughts and how you feel about just all of this crap going on in the luxury space. Anyway, that's it, guys. That is all I have for you today. So I thank you. If you have made it this far, I thank you if you made it this far. I appreciate you watching and hopefully subscribing. And if you have not already subscribed, I would love it if you would hit that button and hit the notification bell so that you are notified again when I upload not Mondays through Fridays. I changed it. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And last but not least, I'm going to put my Instagram handle one more time, just in case you're not already following me over there. I would love it if you would come and do that. And last but not least, I am going to leave another video right over here, just in case you have not already seen it. I would love it if you would keep watching. All right, guys. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.